Hello and welcome back to Disney Journey. I'm retired Imagineer Jim Shull, sitting here in Lost Canyon, which is really foggy today. So that leads my thoughts to talk about Dinoland USA, a land that was original to Animal Kingdom in Florida and a land that we're about to lose. So in this episode, I'm going to be sharing old photographs, some personal stories, and a tale of extinction. This story about the past ironically starts in the present, because we've got to talk about Dinoland USA and its location and purpose at Disney's Animal Kingdom. This was a land that celebrated dinosaurs. And it wasn't the Jurassic Park kind of dinosaurs. No, they went in a different direction. There's a lot of whimsy and a little bit of facts and a little bit of science in this version of the dinosaur tale. The tale of the dinosaur starts the moment you enter the parking lot. I mean, look at it. Even the parking lot is marked with a homage and a note to the dinosaurs. When you finally get up to the front gate, you'll see above the ticketing booth representation of animals. One lives, and the other two are, well, they're ancient or mythological. But if you walk up to the ticket booth, you really understand immediately that dinosaurs are part of the mix. In fact, when you look at the original iconography for the park, it's right there. There's a dinosaur. And Dinoland USA went through permutations and studies, but eventually it settled into the site that we know today. It's not a huge land. It doesn't have a lot of attractions when it opened, although that changed. But it did live in a very beautiful area. Lots of plants, lots of water, which is typical of Animal Kingdom in general. Standing on the bridge overlooking Discovery River, it gave new meaning to the word Wild Kingdom. These fallen trees document how the real world intruded into Animal Kingdom. In fact, the real world and its stories are part of the core essence of Animal Kingdom, which made it unique to all the other Disney parks. Grounded in reality, but enhanced by artistic talent. That was Animal Kingdom. Except for a blue sky project that never got built, I did not work on Animal Kingdom. But that meant that I could enjoy it as a guest. When I lived in Orlando on various projects such as Rock and Roller Coaster or Aladdin or 100 Years of Magic, after work I'd drive on over and walk the safari trails just to de-stress. Or take a moment to enjoy some of the artwork that was there on display in Animal Kingdom. I remember these aquatic sculptures there on the lake. They didn't last very long. In fact, the story goes somebody very high in the company didn't like them as much as they thought they might. So they were quickly removed after Animal Kingdom's opening days and relegated for a long period here in the marina. I remember walking by them many, many times, sitting there as they slowly faded in the Florida sun. A lot of the artistry of Animal Kingdom is hiding in plain sight. And during construction, a lot of it was noted by these signs, which were very typical for the contractors to understand what they were working on. This is old school Disney. Harambe in Animal Kingdom's Africa section was great, but I don't think I appreciate it because there's so much work. But again, it's all about the artistry hiding in plain sight. That artistry was showcased in Dinoland USA, a land which was unique if only for the fact that it was sponsored, the entire land was sponsored by McDonald's. And I spent a lot of time in Oak Brook back when they had the McDonald's campus there in Illinois. Spending a lot of time with the company, understanding their values and trying to translate Disney values to them. Again, I didn't work directly on Animal Kingdom, but I was kind of a lend-lease program for me. I wasn't between projects, but again, I was still within the first decade of my time at WDI, and as typical, I was lent out to be the face of Imagineering to a company that really didn't understand what the company was about. But back to Dinoland. A land that did celebrate animals, but when you look back at it, you kind of realize everything they celebrated was dead. It's kind of grim, isn't it? But it was real, and the reality extended even to the playground, the boneyard, where there were real slides, climbing nets, walkways, bridges, things to discover, bones to uncover, interactives to activate. And it was really neat. It was something that was unique to Disney because they'd had playgrounds before, but not on this scale. Bones and tunnels, what's not to love? But something we never had a chance to love was the excavator, because originally the plans for Dinoland USA contained a site for a pretty large-scale roller coaster, a family roller coaster, which never got beyond this concept art, and unfortunately never was built. However, something that was built, even though if it were temporary, was an extension of the Field Museum. Now, the Field Museum had a long history in Chicago, famous for the dinosaur collection that they had, where they would find and excavate bones and reassemble them and then display them. And here they had a satellite, a temporary satellite there at Animal Kingdom. And again, it was a great example of the science behind the entertainment. Just by looking at this, like the reproduction of Sue, you could learn something in spite of yourself sometime. And once you saw the dinosaur skeleton remains, you probably wanted to dig up your own skeleton. This shaded sand pit in the boneyard gave kids and kids of all ages that opportunity to uncover their very own skeleton. And then, if you met the height requirement, you could ride a simulator ride through the age of the dinosaurs. This ride was called Countdown to Extinction, although the name didn't stick, and we'll get to why in a moment. But the concept art really had a lot of power and force behind it because it was, well, very close up. And the dinosaurs, well, they were big. They were built into Tahunga, which was located back in North Hollywood in Southern California. And back then, this now closed factory for WDI would build and fabricate these dinosaurs. I remember walking through the plant for another reason, and I came upon one of the large dinosaurs going through a programming simulation. And it was cycling over and over again, and it was in full daylight. But that thing startled me, and I was, well, in awe. Although Countdown to Extinction opened with Animal Kingdom, its name changed, and the reason is that Disney in 2000 released a movie into the theaters called Dinosaur, which was a very ambitious mix of CG animation shot against real plates, for the most part, of real locations. The ride system for Countdown to Extinction used the same ride system as was developed for Indiana Jones in Disneyland, California. Although the track was different, slightly different, but still different. The ride itself was housed in the Dino Institute. And again, as you walk through that facility, you could not help but learn something. Because all around you was showmanship, but there was also a lot of information being conveyed. Some of the information was, well, that Synergy lives because ABC, which was owned by Disney, got their truck front and center. The story for the ride was pretty impactful, and I'm not just talking about the meteor that ended the dinosaurs forever. Regardless, once you exited the ride, you could walk out on a pathway which was shaded and covered to make another discovery. Whenever I went to Animal Kingdom and visited Dinoland, I'd always make a visit to my friend Mr. Gator. Now, I know it's not a big deal, but being a California kid where we have this behind me, we don't have a lot of gators. And so every time I could pay a visit to the guy, I would bid him farewell until the next time. Sadly, well, there won't be a next time because he's already been moved. You can't help but slow down when you visit an animal enclosure. As a human, you're forced to work on their schedule, not yours. And regardless, you find yourself relaxing in spite of yourself. Nearby was another figure, and this one again was significant. Primeval World was built by Revachon, a European company that provided a lot of rides, and they had some success with a spinning mouse. Now Disney reached out to them and bought not one but two spinning mice and did a lot of modifications like in the station and operational and safety issues, a number of mechanical changes. Now there is a story where the head of Revachon said, if you'd hold me up front, Disney, I would have built something from the ground up, not modified what you were buying that was quote unquote off the shelf. Again, that's a story. It's one that I've heard. Your mileage may vary if it's true. Primeval World was a fun, slightly nauseating spinning coaster. Now, I rode both sides, and again, I like the coasters. I love coasters. I've designed coasters. But the reality is this was a coaster that was designed to be impermanent. Now, the assets of Revachon were acquired by someone we all know and love, or at least we like, and that is Zamperla Rides. Now, they're located in Vicenza, Italy, and Disney's done a lot of work with them over the decades, mostly in flat rides, because that's their forte. That's their wheelhouse. And they've done so many of these flat rides and spinning rides for the Disney company, which you can ride today worldwide. They started as a projection company, motion picture projectors, but they're out of that business, which is fitting because, well, so is Primeval World. I mean, out of their business. No longer in the Boneyard, no longer in Animal Kingdom, no longer in Dino Rama. It's gone and still remembered. Located nearby were some very nice, if somewhat cheesy, roadside games, redemption games. And they were located right next to another ride, a spinning ride, also by Zamperla, Triceratops Spin. Now, it's very identical to some of the spinning rides you'll see, like both of the land rides. One of them is in the Magic Kingdom, the other one is in Paris. I'll pause to note here that Revachon's assets were all purchased by another company very familiar to Disney fans, a company that supplied a lot of the rides that we know and love. And that company is Zamperla, located in Vicenza, Italy. The ride Triceratops Spin shares commonality with the two land rides. As I said, one is in the Magic Kingdom, and the other is in the Disney Studios, about to become the Disney Adventure World. And they both share the same function, that they have larger capacity and the vehicles tilt. Now, that ride mechanism was imported over for the third of these three, and that was the spin ride there in the Boneyard, or next to the Boneyard, in Dino Rama. Now, Dino Rama was a delightfully cheesy roadside attraction, at least inspired by roadside attractions, such as the one that's in North Carolina, South Carolina, right there on the border, called South of the Border. And it's a great place to go to get some really cheesy food and buy fireworks. Dino-Rama fit into Dinoland USA like a hand in the glove, because Dinoland opened with this, the merchandise of extinction. And again, it was inspired by a roadside attraction vocabulary, and so it featured this beautiful train set hanging from the ceiling and more props you could ever count. Wonderful building exteriors, great finishing, and things that really just don't do justice to the art of scenic design and aging and graining. Again, this Dinoland worked on the very, very edges of cheesy but lovely. When I got hungry, I'd head over to Restaurantsaurus. And the story here was there is a collection of buildings that have been repurposed by students. And so it's very eclectic with props, handwritten notes, even writing on the walls itself. It was an experience just to walk through there because it forced me to slow down, to absorb and understand all of the different stories, all the layers of stories that Dinoland was trying to tell. Even down to the point of the concrete, which looked like asphalt, but was really concrete. At D23 in 2024, the Disney company announced that Dinoland USA is going to close forever to be replaced by Tropical America. Now, admittedly, Tropical America is not a represented area in Animal Kingdom. However, Tropical America will be going in a different direction because the stories it's going to be telling are not based in reality, but in fantasy, and especially fantasy that's grounded in intellectual properties owned by the Disney company that they want to promote. Properties like Indiana Jones and Encanto. Encanto, the house, will be a dominant object in the land, sitting on top of a raised hill, which will also serve to block the view of the show building behind. Now, the ride system we don't know exactly, but it looks to be pretty high capacity, but it's pretty standard at the same time. I don't judge a movie by a trailer, and I won't judge this land before it opens. But this land is going to be going in a very different direction than Dinoland USA. So the question I think you have to ask ourselves is, did we lose something here? And does what we lost matter? I remember standing with Marty Sklar looking at Tree of Life, and he said, that's capacity. Standing there and looking at the animals carved in the tree, or, well, I'm sure he'd say the same about Everest. So it's hard to judge exactly what we're going to lose until we have something to judge it against. For now, I would say that I'm grateful that there was a Dino Rama, or that there was an Animal Kingdom that would house and be brave enough to house something as wonderful and as unique and as special as Dinoland USA. And with that, just like Dinoland, this edition of Disney Journeys reached its end. But there'll be another one real soon. In the meantime, you really should go hit that bell notification button to be notified of when the next episode releases, as soon as it releases. And also continue to send me your comments, because I do read every one and I respond to most. So until next time, from a hopefully warmer and less foggy Lost Canyon, goodbye.